Dr. Amanda with StraightSmile Solutions, StraightSmileSolutions.com, and today we're going to dig in a little bit more to your retention and aftercare program strategy. And a lot of GPs and pediatric dentists fall short in this department just because they don't have the experience that orthodontists have in dealing with retention. And it's definitely something over the last 20 years in the field that I've learned a lot about and what to do and what not to do. So let's go ahead and take a step back. So when I first graduated from residency, the retention we did was pretty much all Hollies, which is its own pros and cons, right? Now, most people are doing Essix just because it's cheaper, but also patients kind of request it. They just kind of demand it. They don't, wearing a bar across your teeth is probably not gonna fly with most people, full time. So whereas it was totally normal, back in the 90s and 2000s. So, it's totally fine if you want to use a Holly, and if you got a patient that wants it, great, that's fantastic. I'm cool with that. It's probably in the last 20 years, you're going to save a lot of money. You don't have to adjust it most of the time. It's great. But I'm not going to go into the pros and cons of Hollies or bonded retainers because I have a zillion videos and content on that. So if you want to know more about those and the why behind those and the pros and the cons and dealing with those and tips and tricks, placement, breakage, all you got to do is go into my YouTube channel, the homepage of StraightSmile Solutions YouTube channel, find the little magnifying glass and put in the keyword Holly or bonded retainer or whatever, and tons of content will come up. Also on the homepage of my of my YouTube site, there is a retention playlist with over 70 videos in it. So everything you need to know is in there. Today we're going to specifically talk about Essix and Vivara retainers, and I have a ton of content on that too, but not pros, cons, and all that. More about strategies to avoid having to redo cases. Who's right, who's wrong, pointing fingers. Is it relapse? Or is the relapse legit? Was it your error? Was it the patient's error? Is it compliance? So I'm going to give you some tricks and tips that I've learned over the years. And ultimately, it's going to come down to the culture of your practice. So there's certainly some practices that is parts of the country where you can get away with doing certain things that will absolutely not fly in other parts of the country. So I can't tell you exactly what to do. I almost feel like you need to sit down with your staff and come up with your plan. Once you have your plan, and if you are part of our concierge or VIP program, we are glad to sit down and help you navigate this. That is something that we do all the time. So there's no one size fits all strategy for this. I'm gonna just kind of give you some tips and you can figure it out. First of all, you want to have a flow, okay? You want to know exactly how it works when either your Invisalign is done or your braces come off, what you do at that appointment, what the steps are, how are you going to do it. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. And once you come up with your plan, then we can do the next steps. So lots of different ways you can do it. Some people do in-house retention. Again, I'm not going to go over the pros and cons in that. Some people send off to a local lab. Some people order Vivara, whatever you choose to do. Just remember that clear retainers, you need more than one in a lifetime. You probably need several the first year. They do wear out. They do. And I'm not talking about cracking and breaking. I'm talking about they warp. And if you're making in-house, unless you're using the best equipment, I'm not talking about regular vacuum formers. I'm talking about like amazing, expensive BioStars and stuff like that, pressure forming machines. Unless you're making it right, you are gonna have relapse. It's not gonna last. So a lot of bad things can happen. So I strongly don't recommend doing in-house unless you have a lab tech or unless you know exactly what you're doing. Because a lot of the mistakes I see, when there is relapse, now we got to figure out whose fault is it. Is it your fault because you guys didn't make it right? Or is it the fault of the patient? So this is probably going to be a very long video and I'm going to talk a lot because there's so many different variables here. But let's start with that. Obviously, I personally think everyone initially should do Vivara just because it's well made, and we eliminate that issue. Is there a manufacturing error? I know if you do Vivara, there's no manufacturing error. I've never seen an issue with them. And of course, if it didn't fit initially, you send off and they'll replace it, right? Remember, Vivara is about $285 for a set of 8, 4 uppers and 4 lowers. Lots of great tips with that. So I know that gets expensive. My suggestion is that you just fold it into your fee and you let the patients know up front what they'll be getting as part of your fees. When you're selling the case, you let them know it comes with 4 retainers, 4 uppers and 4 lowers, which is at least enough to get you through the first few years. You may need to order more. Of course, if you lose them and break them, you need to have more, but you have some backup sets. So, okay. So that is my initial suggestion. Later, down the road, there's a lot of different retainer warranty issues and strategies you can do with doing in-house if you want to save a little bit of money. But let's eliminate that from the beginning and at least get the flow going by using the Vivara. Now, of course, if you do not have an iTero, you may not want to do that. In that case, I would find a really good ortho lab, and there's lots of them that make great retainers. You got to just check the pricing. You got to find out what materials they're using. Are they going to scallop? Are they going to straight trim? I would get some samples. Great Lakes, Specialty, Ohlendorf, the Orthodontic Lab, all great labs, and a lot of them sell bundles of retainers. So these are all questions you want to find out. Find out the ones you like. They all make good stuff. So you just need to find what works for you, find the price. I mean, if it shouldn't be more expensive than Vivara, just remember, first 3 months, you should be wearing to 6 months, you should be wearing your retainers full time. That means they're really going to need more than one set, because they do wear out, they do get stained, they do crack, they do break, and they're going to need more than one set. So you can't just send your patient home with one set of retainers unless you've created a warranty aftercare program. And if you're going to assess additional fees, you need to let the patients know way before they debond. And personally, I think you kind of need to let them know before they even start the braces that, by the way, we're going to recommend more than one retainer. Our office gives you X amount of sets, 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets. You're probably going to need 3 sets at first. You're alone. This is a product that's going to have to be regularly replaced. You need to have a strategy. That's something they need to build into they can purchase it up front. They can purchase bundles up front. But if you don't tell the patients and the parents that before they start the braces and Invisalign, or at least way before they get their stuff off, they're going to be pissed off later. This is the number one complaint issue. And I've been stung with it on Yelp before. I mean, this is before I started doing this. I've definitely been stung with this. Terrible reviews just because they're mad because I didn't tell them they're going to need more than one retainer. I gave them one, but I didn't tell them they're going to need more than one. And then later I said, oh, by the way, you're going to need more than one. They're like, wait, you didn't tell me that. I thought this one set would last me for life. Only the Hollies can last for life. The clear ones will not. Okay? So that's the nice thing about the Vivara. You get 4, it's going to last you a few years. Beyond that, they can come in, they can order more as they need to. Of course, there's going to be an additional fee. You can either set the fees up front, but my suggestion is you don't set the fees up front, because then if he goes to sell your practice, it is a liability on your practice. So that is my suggestion, not doing that kind of warranty program where it's up front. You could have a subscription program where they can enroll in every year, pay $59 a year or $49 a year, and get the retainers at whatever the lower rate is that you're offering, but don't set a flat rate, maybe for that year. Anyways, okay, I'm totally getting off on a tangent. But like I said, it's very complicated. So, and every patient is different. There is no one size fits all approach in terms of retention, where some patients can get away with wearing the retainers for 3 months full time and then nights, but eventually they can back off and go every other night, every 3 nights. But there's no turnkey approach. There's no cookie cutter approach. My suggestion is the verbiage I give patients is I tell them, okay, everyone's going to wear it full time for 3 months. Does it mean that they do? No. Some of them do, some of them don't, and I'm going to give you 2 sets initially, and that's going to come with your program. That's the first one you can wear, for the first month. The second one you can wear for, a month and a half, second, 2 months. But beyond that, at your 3-month appointment, we're going to check and start weaning you down to nights. You shouldn't go straight from full-time to nights, because some people's version of a night is 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, and that's just way too drastic. I usually have them cut back. My verbiage is, let's try leaving it out for a few hours and see how you do. If you leave them out for a few hours and you put them back in, if they feel tight or achy, then that was too long. Okay? So I tell them it's a little bit of a science experiment in terms of how they can step back. And I want them to gradually step back to what they feel comfortable doing. And then I tell them, once you find that sweet spot, next month, have it out another hour or 2. Maybe we do 6 hours. And the next month we leave it out for 8 hours. And anytime you put them back in, they feel tight or achy, they've started to move. And lucky, usually if you catch it real fast, it'll move back, as long as you've got a really well-fitting Vivara or Essix. Now, if you have a warped Vivara Essix, it's not going to move back, right? Or if it moves too much, it's not going to move back. Then you need aligners again. But slowly we want to get that patient over the subsequent few months down to nights, but it could take up to a year or 2 to get down to nights. Once the patient has stepped down to nights, then I don't need to see the patient anymore. I'm good. I feel comfortable. You're just wearing it nights. And I tell them to wear them at nights indefinitely. Now, theoretically, they can probably start going every other night, every 3 nights, I can give them the same by the time they kind of understand the concept, and I know that I wear my retainer maybe normally once a week, maybe 3 times a month. I mean, I barely wear it. And if I leave it out for more than 2 weeks, like I don't usually take them on trips, but if I leave it out for too long, like I go back from my trip and I put it in, it's sore, but it's fine. I know it's, a little bit of settling is normal, but you can't give a cookie cutter approach. All you can do is educate the parents and the patients about how this works, right? So anyways, so that is my suggestion. And that anytime they feel that they need a new retainer after that, there will be a fee for it. You can either have a membership fee that they can subscribe to that just auto bills every year, and then they can get their, I'd say, retainers at half price or something like that, or a much lower price if they're part of the, unlimited at a fee of $50 or, $70 or something like that. And if they don't want to be part of the membership program, the on auto bill, the monthly or the yearly, I recommend yearly, something around $50 to $80. I recommend just auto billing. And then they can get unlimited retainers, because some people like to have 10 sets of retainers. And if they want to get 10 sets of retainers up front, sure, and pay $50 for each one. Great. I'm totally cool with that. And then I've got that auto bill coming in for $50, $49 every year on like hundreds, if not thousands of patients. That's amazing, because not everyone is even going to take advantage of it, but at least they know it's there. That's the main thing. They know it's there. They know if they lose them, break them, or they want more, they can come in and get them at a really low price. It's like peace of mind. It's like an insurance policy. So I think it's a great thing to add and to really discuss with the parents. And a lot of times they'll sign up for this even before they start treatment, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm definitely in for that. Let's do it. So anyways, okay. So I didn't get to my special tip that I'm going to give you. The tip that eliminates the whole liability, pointing fingers, he said, she said. So here is my tip. So normally, let's say at debond, let's say they're in Invisalign. Okay. We're done. We're finished. We check the bite. It looks good. Everything's balanced. Some people do bonded retainers, top and lower. Some don't. Let's act like we didn't. Let's act like we're just going to do Vivara. Usually, I don't recommend ordering the Vivara off the last aligner. I recommend taking off the attachments, getting hygiene done, then rescanning or impressing for the Vivara. Or if you're not doing Vivara, from a local lab, and you'll deliver that a few weeks later. Obviously, they'll stay in their last aligner, until that comes in full time. And then when the retainers come, and at that debond appointment, you want to go ahead, of course, and take your final records. Always, always, always take your final records. I don't care if the patient is busy. You make it crystal clear that debond appointment takes an hour and a half to 2 hours, or whatever your time is, to take off the attachments or take the braces off, take final records, which include, at least a pan and final photos. And then when the retainers come in, you can go ahead and take an additional set of photos with the retainers in. Okay, that is the clue. Not just a front one only, but with retractors, with the retainers in. Okay, front, slightly open, left, slightly open, right, slightly open, so you can see that they're seating all the way down and how the fit is. High resolution, excellent photos. Here is the reason why. Okay, the first set of photos, the final records, we're going to take, that's just regular ortho photos, right? We take that at finishing, at debond, and only after the patient and the parent have signed the release saying that they are happy with the outcome. And you're also going to have the retainer information and the rules in that document. And I have some of this stuff, just templates. But again, this is something where you're going to have to sit down with your team and come up with your own set of rules. Like I said, things that fly in some parts of the country don't fly in other parts of the country. So you need to come up with what you think is fair, and you might tweak it over time, right? The rules might say that, they have to wear the retainers for at least 3 months full time. And after that, they will transition slowly to nights. The actual frequency of the transitioning will vary from person to person, and your doctor will give you, will tell you what it is. And it'll say, any lost or broken, you'll get 1 set or 2 sets or 4 sets, at debond, once finishing that are included in your plan. You need to figure out what it is. Any additional sets within the first year are a certain price, and you should be reasonable within the first year. After that, or you can put in the retainer warranty program information in there and come up with that prices. You can also say it includes retainer visits for the first 6 months, 1 year. I've always done 1 year included. After that, there's a fee for retainer visits. Replacement retainers are this much within the first year, blah, blah, blah. Any additional retreatment that occurs is within the first year is, I usually say, a discount, is discounted. You can either give a discount or you can say how much it is per aligner. It depends on if you're going to do in-house aligners or if you're going to set off for Invisalign. Of course, this is the whole benefit of using Invisalign Comprehensive, because if you use Invisalign Comprehensive, you get that whole 5-year window. So if there's retreatment that needs to happen and you're within the window, and they don't need to know that, you're not going to have a lab fee. So that's why I think you can give discounted retreatment within 365 days or the first year of debond. You need to put all this in your contract. Have the parent sign, have the patient sign, unless the patient's over 18 and only that one person signs. And that way they understand the rules. They understand they have exactly how it's going to work. If they lose a retainer, what the price is. If they have relapse, what the price is, what it's going to be, what the sequence is. And you go over all that because this happens so frequently that there's relapse. So, and that's why when you actually deliver the actual retainers, you take pictures of the retainers in, because I can't tell you how many times when you don't do that they'll say, well, my retainers never fit. Well, unless you had photos to document they fit, guess what? They didn't fit. Patient's right. Patient's always right, unless you have something documenting it. And then you're retreating for free. That's the problem. Sometimes, patients will be like, oh, okay, and they'll pay it. But for the most part, to be honest, if you didn't take those photos with the retainers in, I think the patients have a case to get treated for fee. And if and when they ever went to the dental board or their insurance company, they will win. And you will lose. So because you didn't take either final retention photos or final records, you need to have both. I'm not saying everyone takes final retention photos, but that's something I learned to do. And I recommend if you're using Essix retainers at least. And even if you're using Holly, it's still a really great idea to take it. So in any case, if the patient comes in, say 30 days later, okay, and I see relapse, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, oh, I'd like to ask the patient, well, how do you think this happened? Have you been wearing them full time? A lot of times they'll be super honest and be like, no, I didn't wear them full time. Well, boom. Okay, that's easy now. Now we know who's paying for the relapse, but we're not charging them full price. We're charging them a very discounted price, and we put that in our contract, first 365 days or first 6 months after. It's nice to have 365 days because there's an actual date. If you're not going to give an actual date, that's easy. You should give a final date because it gets really kind of loosey-goosey otherwise. But that way they know what to expect. Now, if there's relapse, they say, oh, I was wearing it full time. First thing I do is say, okay, you go ahead and put your retainers in for me. Of course, if they didn't bring the retainers to the appointment, okay then. So, but if they put them in, if there's relapse, and if you have final records showing it was straight, and if you have final records showing that the retainers fit good, high resolution, with retractors, final records with the retainers in, slightly open from all different angles. And if the retainers are slightly not fitting, you'll see some spaces in between the teeth. All you do is pull up, see, look, this is what happens when I deliver them. The first day I took photos. See how it's nicely sitting all over these teeth. See how it's not sitting over these teeth right now, And they go, oh. So that tells me at some point, I know it's hard, you didn't wear them, well, you left them out for 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, I'm not quite sure. Days, a few hours during the day, it happens. Teeth can move really fast, That's why we tell you have to wear them 24/7. So usually in that case, I say, okay, we have 2 options, okay? So let's try this. Let's have you wear, that's why we gave you more than 1 set. I would like you to have a fresh set, or you can order a new set for a fee, either way. And I want you to use your chewies for a few weeks and really work on these areas, okay? Wear them full time, work on these areas with your chewies, come back in 3 to 4 weeks or a month, and we'll see if it seats better. If it seats better, then probably your teeth will, as long as it's really mild, they might improve on their own or they might fully correct, depending on how much it is, right? how much movement there is. Obviously, if it's major movement, it's not going to correct with one set of the Essix, right? But if it's super, super minor, just wearing the Essix with Chewies for a month full time and just chewing away, or even better, Ortho munchies work even better than Chewies, will help, right? And then they don't have to have a retreatment fee. Now, if you didn't have those final photos with the retainers in and with the retainers out, you have zero case. As far as I'm concerned, within the first year, you are responsible. You as the doctor are responsible for getting the patient retreated, whether they need Invisalign Express or in-house aligners or braces again or whatever you decide to do. But what a pain, right? That's a huge loss of production, a waste of time, a waste of the patient's time. The patient's not happy. You're not happy. No one knows who's responsible, but you really have to take the fall for it if you didn't do this. So that's the why behind the 2-second additional photos. It just literally solves all the problems. And being crystal clear how your retention program is going to work, who pays what the fees are, when the fees go up, what their options are, giving the patient and the parents options, because I know as a parent, of kids who've had ortho, and I know having been a kid, I think of my siblings, and I have 4, I think 4 out of the 5 lost their retainers sometime in the first 2 years. And back then there was no digital files, right? So you have to go in, get reimpressed, everything. And it was incredibly expensive for my parents. And I remember them being so frustrated and so angry at the kids. They were angry and they made the kids pay and everything. And they had travel costs because they were in college. And it was something that even to this day, they're still upset about, So if we can eliminate that, by having that contract, having the rules, having the photos, knowing how it works, it is just going to make for much more referrals, much happier patients, much happier parents, much happier staff, and not wasting your time in the office. And again, that's the why behind having multiple sets of retainers and having a retention aftercare program, having options, having all those different types of final records that proving that things are fitting. And of course, being really flexible that first year. When relapse happens, we don't want them to be super stressed out thinking they have to pay all over again. We want to have a really gradual discounted fee. And again, you can even have them enroll in membership programs or insurance programs that you can create in-house where they can even pay $199 a year, and they could even get up to so many aligners if they needed to. It can be in-house. It doesn't have to be, or white label, which are really cheap. Doesn't have to be Invisalign branded, or that's a whole nother reason again, to tell you to do comprehensive and don't do moderate, don't do go, because you get 5 years of this and they can come in anytime as long as they're part of the membership program that they're paying a couple $100s a year, the insurance program, and they can get up to so many retainers per year if they need it. They can get retreatment up to so many aligners per year. It's brilliant. It's so easy for you. And most of the time, parents and patients probably not even going to use it. So it's revenue that's coming in regularly every year and fantastic for you, right? Great for the patient, great for you. Anyways, long video, but hopefully you got some gems out of it. All right. Thanks so much.